Picture an older man living alone. What image flashes into your mind? Maybe it's the grumpy neighbor yelling at kids to get off his lawn. Maybe it's the tragic, lonely widower eating a microwave dinner in silence. For decades, pop culture has handed us two extremes, the stubborn recluse or the helpless bachelor. But reality doesn't fit into neat little Hollywood tropes. Today, we are looking at a quiet demographic shift that is fundamentally changing the landscape of aging in America and around the world. As of recent data, over 22 million older Americans are what sociologists call solo agers. And roughly 28% of all seniors now live entirely by themselves. While women have historically made up the bulk of solo agers due to longer lifespans, the number of older men living alone is surging. Driven by lower marriage rates, a spike in gray divorce, and shifting family dynamics, more men are navigating their later years without a partner. Some men say they haven't been this at peace in 40 years, thrilled that their time is finally their own. Others admit the hardest part is the silence, not realizing how much they relied on someone else just to hear their own name spoken out loud. Over the next half hour, we are going to look at the unvarnished reality of older men living without a woman. We will explore the very real health risks of isolation, the surprising joys of autonomy, and how a new generation of men is rewriting the rules of aging solo. How do men end up here? The assumption is often widowhood, and while that remains a major factor, the modern solo ager population is incredibly diverse. Today, a massive driver is gray divorce, couples splitting up in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. There are also men who never married, or those who chose not to have children, meaning the traditional family safety net just isn't there. Sociologists point to a major shift in the breakdown of traditional nuclear family structures. Men of the baby boomer and Gen X generations were often socialized to rely almost entirely on their wives for social calendars, family connections, and emotional support. In heterosexual relationships, women overwhelmingly manage the household's social ties, remembering birthdays, organizing dinners, and keeping in touch with the kids. When a marriage ends, or a partner passes away, men often lose more than just a spouse, they lose their social architect. When that scaffolding falls away, many men find themselves standing in a very quiet, very empty room. According to recent Pew research, while men and women report similar rates of feeling lonely, men are significantly less likely to reach out to a wider network for emotional support. A staggering 17% of older men report having zero close friends. This isn't just sad. As we are learning, it is physically dangerous. We need to talk about the physical toll of living alone, because the statistics are sobering. The U.S. Surgeon General has equated the physical effects of chronic loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But for older men living alone, the health impacts take on a very specific, and often dangerous, shape. Medical researchers have found that men living alone have significantly worse control over chronic conditions compared to their married peers or to women living alone. There are increased risks of cardiovascular disease, delayed emergency responses, and faster cognitive decline. Managing a chronic disease requires diligence. It means taking your medication on time, eating a low-sodium diet, and actually going to the clinic for checkups. Without a partner to nudge them, many men let their self-care slide. Stanford researchers recently found that the negative health impact of a man living alone was actually larger than the impact of known medical factors like diabetes or heart failure. And then, there is the mental health piece. Older men are culturally conditioned to be stoic. The provider and protector mindset does not leave much room for admitting you are scared, depressed, or simply lonely. Recent AARP data shows a spike in loneliness among men over 45, reversing previous trends where women reported higher rates. Men are internalizing their isolation, leading to higher rates of untreated depression and, tragically, higher suicide rates among older demographics. The absence of a woman isn't what kills these men. It's the absence of the connection, care, and community that she historically facilitated. But here is where the story shifts. Because men are starting to figure this out. If we only look at the grim statistics, we miss half the truth. For a growing number of older men, living alone is not a tragedy. It is a choice. It is a period of profound reinvention, autonomy, and peace. In fact, when surveyed, 35% of solo agers say freedom is the absolute best part of living alone. Take Robert, a 71-year-old retired engineer. After his divorce a decade ago, he didn't retreat. Instead, he took up watercolor painting, started traveling solo across the country, and volunteers at an animal shelter. For him, the joy of a quiet house and the relief of not having to compromise on daily routines have been liberating. He, like many others, is discovering who he is outside of his previous roles as a husband and a father. There is a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Many older men are shedding the baggage of their pasts. They are waking up when they want, eating what they want, and spending their money how they see fit. They are proving that you don't need a partner to have a purpose. But the ones who thrive share one vital characteristic: they are highly intentional about building their own support systems. They don't wait for a community to find them, they go out and build it. Across the world, men are finding new ways to connect. Take the men's shed movement, which started in Australia and has spread globally. It's exactly what it sounds like: a community workspace where older men gather to build things, fix things, and, most importantly, talk. There is an old saying in psychology: women bond face to face, men bond shoulder to shoulder. Community leaders notice that men open up much more easily when they are engaged in a shared task. Whether it is a woodworking shop, a walking club, or a volunteer organization, these spaces break down the stigma of male intimacy and friendship. Men are learning to talk about their health, their fears, and their lives while sanding a piece of wood or rebuilding a bicycle. Older men living without women are redefining masculinity. They are learning to cook nutritious meals not just to survive, but to host their friends. They are forming chosen families to share the burden of rising housing and healthcare costs. They are stepping in to take care of each other when someone gets sick, replacing the traditional spousal caregiving dynamic with a brotherhood of mutual reliance. They are proving that you can age solo without aging in silos. The truth about older men living without women is that it is a landscape of extremes. It can be a place of profound risk, where isolation acts as a quiet disease, accelerating physical and mental decline. We cannot ignore the fact that as a society, we need better safety nets, better community infrastructure, and a radical shift in how we teach boys and men about emotional vulnerability. But it is also a landscape of incredible resilience. It is a space where men are learning to be their own caregivers, where they are discovering the peace of autonomy, and where they are forging deep, meaningful friendships late in life. If there is an older man in your life who lives alone, a father, an uncle, a neighbor, don't assume he's helpless, and don't assume he's perfectly fine. Just check in. Have a conversation shoulder to shoulder. Because the solo ascent of aging isn't meant to be climbed entirely without a rope. Thanks for listening.
Hello, I invite you to join us on the Mindful Aging channel, where we discuss health and wellness for a vibrant life.